Welcome to chapter 4, the book of Zechariah. Today is the 31st of 2023 of December. Tomorrow will be 2024. On the 30th, 44 years ago, I had my born from above experience, coming back from a hiatus from the Lord for 13 years. So I'm now 40 in my 45th year with Jesus, an 83rd year in my mortal state. Hopefully I'll stay this way for a while. I'd like to accomplish through the Lord going through the New Testament next after we finish Habakkuk, which comes right after Zechariah. But we're in the 4th chapter of Zechariah right now, the lampstand and the olive trees. It begins, "And the angel speaking with me returned and awakened me, in which manner whenever a man should be awakened from out of his sleep." It always reminds me of what happened with Peter. It says, "And behold, an angel of the Lord stood by," he's in jail, "and a light radiated in the building. But having struck the side of Peter, he roused him, saying, 'Rise up quickly.' And the chains fell off of him from his hands. And the angel said to him, 'Gird yourself and tie on your sandals.' And he did so. And he says to him, 'Put on your cloak and follow me.' And going forth he followed him. And he knew not that it was true." He was seeing the thing taking place by the angel, but he thought he was seeing a vision. Then, having gone through a first guard and a second, they came into the gate of iron, the one bearing into the city, by which by itself opened to them. And having come forth, they went by one street, and immediately the angel separated from him." So apparently the angel enjoys waking people up, and he's a man of few words. Do this, do that. So this angel awakened Zechariah. And he said to me, "What do you see?" And I said, "Well, I have seen, and behold, a lampstand entirely of gold." Now this lampstand is what holds lamps. They're little oil lamps. They had a wick in them, and they put oil in there, and they burned them. And the lampstand has 7 of these lamps, we find out. It's entirely of gold, just similar to the one that was in the tabernacle. And it had the oil lamp bowl was upon it, or by it, above somehow. It had it because it worked by gravity, pulled it down, and the oil would go in to these lamps, and then 7 lamps upon it. And there were 7 oil funnels to the 7 lamps upon it. So the oil funnels went down, somehow fed the oil into this lamp. And 2 olive trees were upon it, one at the right of its oil lamp bowl and one at the left. So wherever that bowl was, there's somebody on both sides. And I said to the angel speaking with me, saying, "What are these, O Lord?" And the angel answered the one speaking with me and said to me, "Know you not what these are?" And I said, "No, Lord." And he responded and said to me, "This is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, saying, not by great power nor by strength, but by my Spirit, says the Lord." Now, the 2 olive trees on the left and the right are explained later in verse 14. But we see in the New Testament, we go to the book of Revelation, and before the holy city is measured, it starts off actually in Revelation 8:13, where it says, "And I saw and heard one eagle flying in mid-heaven with a great voice, Woe, woe, woe to the ones dwelling upon the earth, and the remaining sounds of the trumpet of the three angels being about to trump." So now we are seeing that there are going to be three woes. Woes are not good. Woe, woe, woe. Three woes. And then we jump to Revelation 9:1, and we see the first woe, which is the fifth trumpet. And you can see this in our book, Entities of the Book of Revelation. You can go to woe and trumpets, all these different entities in the book of Revelation. It says in Revelation 9:1, the first woe, the fifth trumpet, was a star falling from heaven, and then locusts coming out of the earth, which attack men. Then the second woe, of which we are going into now, related to Zechariah, from Revelation 9:13 to 11:14, is the sixth trumpet. And in that woe, we have the fiery horses coming out and killing 1/3 of the men on the earth. And then 11:1, it starts off here with the holy city measured. In the second chapter, it was talking about a man going and measuring Jerusalem. But here it's a little bit different. Now, the reason I mention this is because we'll see who the two trees are, olive trees. So before it says, "And was given to me a reed measure like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Arise and measure the temple of God and the altar and the ones doing obeisance in it. And the outer courtyard of the temple put out, and you should not measure it." Now, this is probably the next temple is going to be built, where the man of sin enters into, which is in the second chapter of 2 Chronicles, and then after that, the gathering of the elect. So he is to measure this area, but the outer courtyard put out, and you should not measure it, for it was given to the nations, which is really a no-no, but somehow could be the built next to the Dome of the Rock Mosque. That's just conjecture. And they will tread the holy city for 42 months. So that's 3.5 years. This is going to be happening at the beginning of the tribulation. And then it continues, "And I will give to my 2 witnesses." Remember, there was 2 trees, and they will prophesy 1,260 days, or 3.5 years during this period of time, probably, wearing sackcloths, rough material like burlap. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands standing before the Lord of the earth. So there we are. Now we see that this is who they are. They are standing next to the Lord of the earth. I believe then these 2 people are telling the people at the time about Jesus. This is what they're all about. And it says, "And if anyone wants to injure them, fire goes out from out of their mouth and devours their enemies. And if anyone wants to injure them, thus must he be killed." These have authority to lock the heaven, that it should not rain the days of their prophecies, and they have authority over the waters to turn them into blood and to strike the earth with every calamity, as Moses and Elisha, and as often as they should want. And whenever they should finish their witness, the wild beast, which I believe we'll see as a stone in front of Zerubbabel, when he's ascending from out of the abyss, will make war with them and will overcome them and will kill them. And their corpses will be upon the square of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where even their Lord was crucified, and that would be Jerusalem. And we'll see from out of all the peoples and tribes and languages and nations their corpses 3.5 days, and they will not allow their corpses to be put in a tomb. And the ones dwelling upon the earth will rejoice over them, and will be glad, and will send gifts to one another. For these two prophets, their prophets, tormented the ones dwelling upon the earth by telling them about Jesus. And after 3 days and a half, breath of life from out of God entered unto them. Now, these people, this could be after all the Christians are taken, 2 Thessalonians, after the man of sin goes into the temple, then all these things start happening, and these two men appear, and they are still going to tell the people about Jesus. They don't want to hear about Jesus. They hate him. And then it says, they killed them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon the ones viewing them. They saw that these people came alive, just as Jesus did. And they heard a great voice from out of the heaven saying to them, to the two witnesses, ascend here. And they ascended into the heaven in the cloud, again in a cloud, and their enemies viewed them. And in that day a great earthquake took place, and the tenth of the city fell, and were killed in the earthquake the names of so many thousands of men. So, and then it continues now. And he responded and said to me, saying, well, this is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, saying, not by power nor by strength, but by my Spirit, says the Lord Almighty. Who are you, great mountain? I believe that's the beast, before the face of Zerubbabel, to set up. Zerubbabel's coming back as one of these two men. And I believe the other is Joshua. And I will bring forth the stone of the inheritance, of its favor equaling my favor, and Jesus is the stone, the stumbling stone. And came to pass the word of the Lord to me, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel laid the foundation of this house, which he did when he came back with Ezra, Nehemiah, and Joshua, and Haggai and Zechariah. And his hands shall complete it. Now, the house is going to be built. Now, I don't think this is talking about a future time. And you shall recognize that the Lord Almighty has sent me to you. Now, who is the me and who is the you? That the Lord has sent me, Jesus, to you, the Israel, has sent me, the Lord, to Zerubbabel. I think it's Jesus here again, like in this last chapter. For who treated with contempt small days? You think the little things, the other things are going to be happening. And they shall rejoice and shall see the 10 stone in the hand of Zerubbabel, a plummet I put in there because that's what I think it is. Now, the kasaterinon only appears here in the Bible. I looked up in the dictionary, it's tin, but a tin stone, plummet. It's a plummet, which is a stone that they hang down to measure things. It's in the hand of Zerubbabel. But he says, these 7 eyes of the Lord are the ones looking upon all the earth. So the 7 eyes, as I mentioned in the last chapter, I believe are part of the Godhead. And I responded, Zechariah, and said to him, well, what are these 2 olive trees at the right side of the lampstand and at the left? Now see, the Jews don't have the book of Revelation, which tells them. They only have the prophets here, but we know. And I asked a second time. So he asked him one time what these are. It's weird because he asked a second time, and I said to him, what are these 2 branches? Now it's the branches. The first was what are these 2 olive trees at the right of the lampstand? Then next time he asks further, what are the 2 branches of the olive trees, the ones by the handles of the 2 tubes of gold, pouring and returning back the oil by funnels of gold. And he spoke to me, saying, do you not know what these are? And I said, no, O Lord. And he said, these are the 2 sons of the fatness, they stand beside the Lord of all the earth. Now, at the time of Revelation, they're there, and they're standing beside, or standing firm by the Lord of all the earth. It says in Acts 1:10, and as they were gazing into the heaven at his going, Jesus, and behold, two men stood by them in white attire. It's the only place I could find where two men were mentioned in this context. But 39:36, it means also to present, as you're presenting somebody, and they present the Lord of all the earth. Could also be translated that way. Maybe I should have put it at the bottom. So, a future time that these two witnesses are going to come to Jerusalem. I'll be long gone. I believe all the believers will be long gone. These two men are still going to come, tell them about Jesus, and be killed for what they're doing. The Jews still hate to hear the things about Jesus now, but they're going to hate to hear about Jesus more by these two witnesses who are going to appear in the city of Jerusalem and then rise from the dead with a great earthquake, with many, many people, thousands of people being killed. We're given a pretty descriptive picture of the future of what's going to happen, and the people that are not Christians, if they're gone, then people hopefully will find an Apostolic Bible, will read this or see the video and understand what's going on. This is the beginning of a really bad time. They think it has been bad with the locusts and other things, but there's still another woe coming. So they'll find out the hard way, unfortunately. Many of our loved ones might. The 5th chapter, our next video seminar, is the vision of the flying sickle. To find out what that's all about, hope you join us in the next video. Until then, God bless.